It's only fitting that we're recording this podcast on Tuesday because we're going to be reviewing Taboo Tuesday 2004. How many freaking references to the title are we going to make? And how many wrestlers had to say the title of this pay-per-view as ridiculously as possible?
I'm going to jump the gun with this one. Ric Flair's was the best.
Taboo Tuesday!
What is Taboo Tuesday? This is quite the revolutionary pay-per-view. WWE was a little ahead of its time with this one because for the very first time, but basically what Vince McMahon said, he is not in charge of this pay-per-view, but we'll get into that a little later. The fans are now in charge of the pay-per-view. So what they did was fans online at WWE.com, they got to decide match stipulations, opponents, not outcomes of matches of like what would the loser have to do if certain matches happen. Ring attire, which I am very uncomfortable to talk about.
Not looking forward to that one.
Yeah, so basically this was a concept WWE came up with. I do not know why they wanted to do it on a Tuesday. I know it's Taboo Tuesday. Just to jump the gun a little, a couple years later, this would get retconned into Cyber Sunday, which thank God, because as a kid, I witnessed one of the Taboo Tuesdays live. I think it was 2005. And let's just say my mom was not happy that she had to pick me up after she got off work to take me to a friend's house so I could go watch this pay-per-view. So a little bit of an experimental phase for the WWE. How did you vote for these matches per se? You would go on WWE.com and you could vote as many times as you want. They had polls for the matches. You got a special code that you had to enter before voting for the matches. And let me just say, man, as a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old, this was really fun. I have some very nice memories of going on WWE.com and voting. A fun story for the 2007 Cyber Sunday. I remember my friend who was a huge Jeff Hardy mark, and I would go to his house like almost every day after school, and he would get on his computer and just vote like 20 times in a row for Jeff Hardy. But alas, he would not win that poll. But it was a fun time. I did not like the very last Cyber Sunday 2008 because it transferred over to text messages, and this was the really early day of text messaging where they charged you for every vote. So let's just say being a 13, 14-year-old with a cell phone only for emergencies, there was no way in hell my parents were going to let me rack up their phone bill with voting what stipulation Rey Mysterio and Kane were going to have at Cyber Sunday.
It's a really neat idea for sure. That's kind of ahead of its time in a lot of ways. I can only imagine how a Cyber Sunday or Taboo Tuesday would go these days. Like, it would be probably generated through a bunch of Twitter polls, and people could like just spam the button as many times as they could. I don't really, because how old was I when this pay-per-view was? I was going on 8 years old. And I don't remember going on and being like, oh, I got to vote for Chris Benoit multiple times. You know, like, I don't have those memories. I do voting for one of those pay-per-views, but I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to jump the gun at all. This is 2004. We're looking at 2004. Raw was definitely the better show between Raw and SmackDown, as we talked about last month. No Mercy wasn't a great show. So hopefully Raw could up their game here quality-wise, even though we don't really know what all the matches are. So pay-per-view isn't really going to sell anyway. So
so basically the show opens up with Jonathan Coachman, who is in charge of the control center. And that's basically where they revealed all the results to all the polls. There was a weird gimmick that he was doing that kind of bled out into one of the other matches where first he would get the crowd vote. He would ask them who they would want to see win the poll, and then he would reveal the actual results of the poll. He would try to pull some bullshit later on the show where he would say, no, the crowd vote and the online vote have to match for it to count. That's not the case. Only the online vote counted. But let's get this very uncomfortable one out of the way now. They were going to have a 7-woman battle royal for the women's championship, and we got to decide what the ring attire was going to be.
Good
now,
Lord.
as a 28-year-old man, not only are the other options just better, but the option they went with was downright creepy. You could either vote for a French maid, you could vote for, what was the other option?
A nurse,
or you could vote for a schoolgirl.
I would vote, honestly, sitting here, sorry to cut you off, I would vote for a nurse just based on the fact that it's a big tribute to all the people on the front lines during the pandemic. So
exactly, 100%. Or I would even go with the French maid, just with certain cultural preferences. But they revealed that the schoolgirls win, and the first thing I thought was the entire WWE universe just outed themselves as pedophiles because they
Yep.
voted for the schoolgirl, and we're not going to bury the lead too far. The commentary is fucking cringe during this match. So they
Yeah.
wanted to get the poll out of the way so the ladies could get into their ring attire. That's fucking disgusting, me talking about this now in 2023. But that is not our opening contest.
It is not.
Our opening contest
not.
is going to be an Intercontinental Championship match. And this was the most interesting one to me because most of the matches had 3 options. For this one, you got to choose from anyone on the Raw roster that wasn't already involved in a match who would challenge Chris Jericho for the Intercontinental Championship. They ran through all of the options before the match, but there was only like 3 or 4 that really stuck out. And I remember as a kid, just because I wanted to go with what WWE was planning in their mind, I voted for Batista, believe it or not, because I remember Batista attacked Jericho on an episode of Raw, claiming he wanted a challenge for the Intercontinental Championship. But this isn't what Vince wanted. If this is what Vince wanted, we would have got Jericho and Batista on the show. And Batista probably would have held the Intercontinental title, one of the only titles he would never hold in his career. But this was the fans' choice, and they voted in Shelton Benjamin. And oh my God, even back then, that was easily the best choice for this. Benjamin was the young blue chipper who got drafted to Raw. He was a couple of pinfall victories over Triple H. He beat Ric Flair on pay-per-view. Benjamin really wasn't doing anything at the time, but good thing. Thank God he got voted into this match because we got a first-time ever match that we really want to see that many times after this with Benjamin, the young guy, going against Jericho, the veteran. And this is the first time ever, and it's a babyface match. So
it is.
The fans, good booking decision by the fans here.
Great booking decision, much better than Green Batista. And legend has it that Chris Jericho went into Taboo Tuesday having no idea who his opponent was going to be. So he had an inkling, and he said in interviews that he felt like it was going to be Shelton just because of his popularity, but he couldn't exactly fully prepare for a match with Shelton Benjamin because he didn't know it was going to be his opponent. So once it was revealed that it was Shelton Benjamin, you know, you can kind of see Chris in the ring just kind of like, yeah, okay, yeah, I get it. And then they go in there, they have a pretty decent match given the circumstances.
So props to WWE for not fixing the results. This was 100% the fans' choice.
Yes.
In later installments of the pay-per-view, they would kind of give you here are some all right options, but here's the really, really good option that we want you to go with. They would kind of like try to manipulate us. But this one was probably the most organic. And I will say, they did have plans for all of these stipulations because you would see other aspects of these other stipulations bleed into the other matches, as we'll get into later. But like you said, Jericho and Benjamin had a really good opening match to start up here. It was a perfect blend of athleticism, Jericho's veteran mindset versus, the plucky young Benjamin's aspirations to win the Intercontinental title. And again, you threw Jericho and Benjamin there on the fly, and they put together a really good match.
They did, yeah. Shelton Benjamin with 37% of the overall vote, by the way. Completely blowing away his competition. Batista was the only one that really came close with 20% of the vote. But
again, that's an example of WWE saying, we want Batista to get this match, but it's up to you guys. If this was up to Vince, we would have gotten Jericho and Batista for the Intercontinental title.
Yes, Jericho, JR was talking about Benjamin's background and like his collegiate background going to the University of Minnesota. He does that in every single match to try and put him over. Jericho was working somewhat heelish for this match just because, Shelton Benjamin was the crowd choice and everything, but it's babyface versus babyface. You kind of have to have someone be a heel by proxy to get it to sort of work. Jericho is hitting enziguris. He's working him over with chops. Man, there were some really, really, really good near falls in this thing. Benjamin with a big spinning heel kick. You know that movie always hit in SmackDown versus Raw 2007 when you played as Shelton, the Dragon Whip? Just spam the shit of that thing. It's like,
basically, it's one of those moves. It's one of those moves that you look back on it and think, you think the opponents would catch on by now because anytime Benjamin would go for a kick to the midsection, the opponent would grab his foot and instead of throwing it down, maybe dumping him on his back, no, they would always swing him around to give Benjamin enough momentum to hit that spinning heel kick. A very impressive move, by the way. Benjamin was just the most... I will give a fun fact. If you ever watched John Cena's 5 Questions with the Champ that he debuted the following year, somebody asked him, who's more athletic, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat or Shelton Benjamin? Not only did Cena pick Benjamin, he said Benjamin was the most athletic wrestler of all time. That is a huge stamp of approval
And
from the doctor of thugonomics.
And no disrespect to Steamboat when we say this, but Shelton literally was like one of the most athletic wrestlers of all time. He still is. He's still under contract. Jericho goes for the walls. Benjamin counters to an inside cradle. Really fun near fall there again. Really good one, rather. Jericho connects with a lion salt, but he doesn't go for a pinfall. He instead wants to go for an Irish whip. Jericho leaps up to the second rope, wants to hit his drop kick. Benjamin hits him with a T-bone suplex out of nowhere and wins the Intercontinental Championship. So the crowd has already made one booking decision, and it's already changed such a huge trajectory. Management wanted Batista. They got Shelton Benjamin instead. And get used to us saying Intercontinental Champion Shelton Benjamin instead. Because spoiler alert, he would go on this run for a while. At least into the summer 2005.
A very, very, very healthy run with the Intercontinental title. Remember what we said in our Unforgiven review. Jericho won the big ladder match, but he was only a transitional champion. Whether it was going to be him, Edge, or Christian, again, this was a decision that really helped change the trajectory of Benjamin's career. And this was, again, such a welcome surprise. Because remember what also we were talking about Unforgiven? They were running promo packages for a Mr. Benjamin. Thank God that never came into fruition. This was WWE's lame attempt to give Benjamin some sort of personality. But Benjamin, unfortunately, his lack of personality, he didn't need really a personality. He was the most athletic wrestler on the roster. He won this title. Not only a nice pop from the fans, Benjamin himself popped for himself because he didn't even know he was going to be in this match, let alone win the Intercontinental title. And then a really nice moment after the match, Jericho yanks the title away from the referee. It looks like he's going to turn heel, but no, he drapes the title over Benjamin's shoulder and gives him his stamp of approval. So this
Jericho
was, when it comes to feel-good moments, when it comes to feel-good moments, this is the best moment of the show. I'm going to give it 3.25 stars. It would have been a lot higher, but only two factors. Number one, they had to call this match on the fly. Number two, a little more time would have been nice. If they would have given these guys 3 to 5 more, give them 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue with this pay-per-view. A lot of these matches didn't get the time that they really needed.
This match really could have been an instant classic, which would have made it all the more impressive because Jericho did not know his opponent was going to be Shelton Benjamin for sure. He could assume it was going to be Shelton just based on the crowd reaction, but didn't know for sure until the votes came in. So
maybe they gave Jericho the short time just to kind of relieve the nerves of not knowing who your opponent was. But if you would have booked Jericho and Benjamin in a solid 15-minute match where they had time beforehand to prep, that could have been easily a 4.5 star match right there.
Easily, so, yeah. I think these two would have better matches down the line. I'm going to give this 3.25 stars because, again, would have worked if there was more of a story going into it. There was more time to prepare. But, I mean, given what they had, I think they did the best they could have done. I think it was a solid opening match here. But before we get to this next match, this is a very important facet of this pay-per-view that we must discuss. So this pay-per-view is really only known by me personally for one thing, and that's the ascension of Edge into the main event scene. Edge was one of the 3 options to take on Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship, alongside former champions Chris Benoit and Shawn Michaels, who is on a bum knee for some godforsaken reason. I don't remember, but
everyone may have been kayfabe because they were talking about it a lot on this pay-per-view. It may have been done something just going into the build-up for this show. And yeah, this is where they do reveal. It's weird because they gave Jericho no prep time for his title match, but they are giving the World Championship, they're giving them a couple of hours because this would be the segment where they would reveal who would be challenging Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship.
It sure would be. And all 3 of these guys got to make a speech as if the audience could send in last-minute votes. I think this was an election year, too, which is partially why this pay-per-view was introduced, to explain the importance of voting, you know? All 3 of them give an impassioned speech. Edge is he won a triple threat match last night on Raw to show that he deserves a shot at this title. He beat both of these guys. And honestly, Edge should have been the right choice, all things considered.
Edge, at this point in Edge's character development, he has a chip on his shoulder. He just came back from injury. He was stripped of the Intercontinental title. The fans turned on him at SummerSlam, and he's pissed off. He wants to prove himself. He feels like he needs to win a world championship. He has been in the WWE for what? 6 years at this point, and he has not gotten a crack at a world title. So this is
Nope.
the closest he's going to get. But let me just say now, Shawn Michaels would go on to be the king of Taboo Tuesday and Cyber Sunday, because out of the
Yeah.
5 events, he would get voted into 3 world title matches
My
the following
word.
year into the triple threat with John Cena, and then the year after, and then in 2007 would get voted into face Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. So
Yep.
Michaels was clearly a fan favorite at this point, and this is a really good example of this was WWE saying, here's Benoit. You could give him a shot at the world title, give him a shot at redemption. Here's Edge, which is a heel, and nobody wants to vote for him. I think nobody voted for him because he's a heel.
Well,
and we
Edge,
are still in the age of
hold that thought.
Smart monks.
Sorry, hold that thought. Edge wasn't fully fledged heel yet. He was definitely someone who had more of a chip on his shoulder than any of the other three. Shawn was very much the humbled babyface. Wasn't asking for sympathy on this knee injury. He says, listen, I'll take another shot at Triple H if you'll give it to me, but I'm not expecting it. And with 39% of the votes, the most humble guy in the room wins it. 39% for Shawn Michaels. Edge lost by 6 percentage points. So it's not like nobody voted for him. And Shawn is like silently celebrating. Edge is visibly pissed off. Storms off the interview set. Benoit shakes Michaels' hand and congratulations. We will get to that match later.
But this is a very important part also of this, and they only did this for 2 of the Taboo Tuesdays. I wish they did it for all of them because I actually love this concept. The 2 losers of the world title poll would get thrown together in a makeshift tag team to challenge the world tag team champion. So that match will be later tonight. It'll be Benoit and Edge challenging La Resistance for the world tag team titles. Man, for a random tag team of Benoit and Edge, they fought La Resistance a lot for the titles, and they would basically play hot potato with these titles in the year of 2004. But
good Lord,
we have 2 very uncomfortable matches to get through. Thank God they're back to back. Let's get this out of the way.
First of all is that battle royal that we discussed for the women's title. They come out dressed as freaking schoolgirls, and I hope this crowd is proud of themselves. 53% of the votes to get this in, and it seems like pretty much the majority of the participants in this battle royal, without naming names, looked supremely uncomfortable to be doing this.
You absolutely got Jazz ripping off her sleeves to her costume. You have Molly Holly, who is stumbling her way to the ring in high heels. She looks like she does not want to be there. Gail Kim just looks dead inside, which, again, thank God there's a good ending to Gail Kim's career where she said, fuck WWE. Soon after this, let's just get this out of the way now because it's what I would like to talk about more. Soon after this, Gail Kim would part ways with WWE. She would go to TNA, where she would pioneer that women's division. You want to feel good about yourself after watching this? Go watch some Gail Kim and Awesome Kong matches in TNA. It is the best women's wrestling of all time, in my opinion. They put on some bangers of matches.
Of all time.
Oh, it's up there. It's up there.
Bold statement. Yeah.
Kim and Kong, they revolutionized women's wrestling in the 2000s.
They're great matches. I don't know if I'd go as far as saying all time, but certainly solid stuff.
Just saying, if you want women's wrestling, go to TNA during this time. It is spectacular stuff. So Gail Kim, hang in there, girl. You're going to become a legend in another company. And
she did. And that she did. God, this match was so uncomfortable. And even then, also, the work in the ring, the Battle Royal also, it was such, like, dog shit in a lot of ways. Because the ladies did not have to go over the top rope to be eliminated. You could go
women can't
through the ropes, under the bottom ropes, and I'm like, just treat it like a normal Battle Royal. Don't confuse us with the rules. They can go through the ropes.
That was straight up because Vince didn't feel women could go over the top rope. Basically, horrible. And then on top of all of that, Jerry the King Lawler, somebody call Chris Hansen, because he was, oh my God, this is the worst of Lawler, saying he wanted to go back to grammar school, saying he wanted to see them after class in the principal's office. You know what? I'm going to reveal a personal story. So back at home in Sacramento, there is a theater company that I did Rocky Horror with, and they do like these variety shows. And on one of the shows I went to, they had a burlesque dancer. I'm going to leave all names out because I'm not trying to shame any sort of worker whatsoever. But this burlesque dancer's gimmick was a schoolgirl. And I watched the show, really not thought anything of it. But then after talking to a friend afterward, they said, you know, when you really think about it, having a schoolgirl gimmick really just links to pedophilia. And I'm just like, holy shit, you're right. So this whole thing was just super uncomfortable. The women looked uncomfortable. The commentary was uncomfortable. If there's one tiny positive I'm going to give this match, oh, by the way, Nidia's in this match, which we haven't seen Nidia in a while. She's almost on her way out of the company.
Since the blindfold match, I think, right?
Yeah, Nidia, Gail, Kim, Jazz,
Stacy Keibler.
Yeah, those three really didn't matter. They got eliminated pretty quick. Victoria's in there. She gets eliminated. I will say, I will give this match the tiniest bit of credit. Trish Stratus, Molly Holly, and Stacy Keibler put on a little bit of a decent match at the end. You know, the eliminations were so quick, blink and you missed it. But again, I just wish if you would have thrown, I don't know, Trish Stratus, Molly Holly, and Gail Kim and let them actually wrestle a match. And those can be intangible. You could have had Jazz and Victoria. You could have had Molly and Victoria. You know, the good wrestlers in this match. If you would have just given them like a 10-minute triple threat, it would have been some solid stuff because
it would have.
Stacy Keibler is not a wrestler, but she was holding her own in there. But Stacy Keibler's selling is also atrocious, by the way. They have her in the corner and they're bending the leg, and Stacy's going, stop. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, put me out of my freaking misery.
Yeah.
Keibler gets eliminated.
They're
Molly.
Spoiler alert, they're putting Stacy in the Hall of Fame this year. So
I can't wait to hear her speech. If it's
it should be fun. Yeah, it should be very akin to Tori Wilson's, but it's like, it's not like Stacy Keibler is known for her in-ring acumen. She's known for kind of being a pioneer for, you know, like women's division, I guess you could say. I don't know.
Stacy Keibler would have remained a manager valet. Her career is legendary already, but I feel like, you know what I mean. But while the third Holly cousin is distracted, Trish Stratus sneaks up behind her, pushes her off the apron. Trish Stratus retains the women's title.
Was there any doubt
about that? Trish Stratus she's God in the women's division. You know what? I will give this match a half star. And that is the half star is for the little bit of decency we got at the end of the match, and just for the ladies having to put up with this bullshit. Fuck this match, fuck the stipulation, and fuck you, Jerry the King Lawler.
Quarter star for me. You know, like not really much else to say about that, but
no.
Oh boy. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of the show where we say, if you do not feel comfortable hearing about the following subject material when it comes to sexual abuse, domestic violence, and unfortunately, we have to say this part, if you have ever lost a child before it was born, I feel gross saying this already, feel free to pause the video. We will provide a timestamp at the bottom because we are continuing with the Kane saga. And ladies and gentlemen, it gets worse. Kane takes on newcomer Snitsky in a pick your weapons match. It's a steel chair, it's a steel chain, it's a lead pipe. But who the fuck is Snitsky and why are we having this match?
Well, it wasn't my fault. This storyline wasn't my fault.
After Bad Blood, Kane is furious that he lost to Shawn Michaels and that Lita had a hand in that. So he has Bischoff by the throat in his office, and Bischoff says, don't worry, Kane, you know what? To make it up to you, I am going to serve you an opponent on a silver platter for you to take out your frustrations on. In comes Snitsky, which was supposed to be Kane's victim. Kane is absolutely wailing on Snitsky in this match, and Lita comes in the ring to stop Kane. Here's Lita. Here's the turnbuckle. Here's Kane. While Kane is distracted because he's about to pillmanize Snitsky's neck, Snitsky gets the steel chair. He whacks Kane in the back. Kane falls on Lita. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Lita loses the child. Lita loses Kane's child. And Kane is overly emotional in the hospital. Lita's just despondent in the bed. Snitsky's cutting a promo the next week where he's like, it wasn't my fault. it was an accident, and then proceeds to kick a toy child into the arena concourse.
Yeah, because he was a guest on the highlight reel, and Jericho was trying to interview him. So here, so basically throughout the weeks, Kane's looking for revenge, and Snitsky attacks Kane with a lead pipe, which leads into the weapons choice match. I voted for the lead pipe just because I felt like it was integral to the story. But so let's set the stage now. We have a man who sexually assaulted a woman, absolutely decimated her boyfriend, and then forced Lita to marry him, versus a man who did what he did. I don't even want to say it. Did what he did, and then showed no remorse, and then actively mocked Lita for her loss. There is a point in a backstage segment where Lita attacks Snitsky, which she
Good
had
for
every
her.
right to.
Good for her.
Snitsky grabs Lita, shoves her into a wall, and says, "It wasn't my fault. The only thing dead around here, Kane, is your baby."
Well, why does Lita just attack Snitsky? Leave Kane next. Leave Kane.
So
why am I supposed to? Sorry, I'm still on my soapbox here.
Go on.
Why do I have to cheer for this man now? Why? Like,
this storyline gives you nobody to cheer for. So Lita basically at this point has developed Bell syndrome, has developed Stockholm syndrome.
On that note, sorry to keep cutting you off. This feud is telling you to root for Kane. The booking is telling you to root for Kane now. Even though, like, Snitsky's out there, like, killing his child, and Kane is like, oh, man, yeah, even though, like, we're supposed to forget everything that Kane did over the summer. Now we're supposed to forget everything that Kane did to this poor woman.
WWE I'm sorry, not WWE. Vince McMahon wanted us to feel sympathy for Kane because he was showing emotion that he lost his baby.
I can't either.
I can't believe I'm actually keeping it together a lot better than you are. But it's just, okay. If they would have made Snitsky like the knight in shining armor, where he was like, you know what, Kane, you are an abusive, manipulative, evil son of a bitch, and I'm coming to take you down. That would be one thing. But Snitsky killed a baby. Let me say that again. Snitsky killed a baby and then mocked Lita, saying it wasn't his fault. Yeah, you know what, Snitsky? It kind of wasn't your fault because, number one, you should have known that Lita was there. I'm sorry. Number two, if it wasn't your fault, then show some goddamn remorse.
Yeah, but Vince wanted him to be the heel so that Kane can be cheered.
Also, poor Snitsky. He didn't deserve this.
No.
He didn't deserve this.
Snitsky didn't deserve anything. You know, like, I mean,
so
Snitsky, okay. Can I also say Snitsky, like, given the right storyline, Snitsky could have been really entertaining. And I think given, like, the material that he had, that man tried to make the most of it. And bless his heart for doing that. But, like, ugh.
So Lita has developed Bell syndrome, and she has feelings for her captor. So she wants to back Kane up in this match. So just for those who are keeping track at home, the steel chain gets voted into this match, which I kind of don't understand why. Again,
I don't even care how much, but let's see. It won 41% of the vote, probably because the steel chair and the lead pipe were used frequently in the feud, and the crowd is just like, oh, they want to see something different. Steel chain, like that'll do.
The pipe was more integral into the plot of the story for those who fucking care. I don't know. It does not matter. With that being said, this match isn't horrible. I will say, Snitsky as a worker actually carried a good part of this match. I didn't want to say this was a hoss fight, but considering Snitsky was giving it his all out there and Kane was the veteran, this was decent, I will say.
Yeah.
And they put Snitsky over like a motherfucker in this match.
They sure did. I mean, the work is really like nothing special per se. The thing that a lot of people remember about this match is the finish, which I'm sure we can talk ad nauseum about. But
yeah, I mean, there are some nice hard hitting spots here. Like Snitsky's hitting some stiff clotheslines. They're getting physical with the chain.
Yes.
And then, but there is an issue that happens in this match. You know where I'm going with this. Near the end of
Oh
the match,
God.
there's a nice double boot spot there. Again, 1 month ago, Snitsky had barely debuted on TV. This is like his third match, and they're thrusting him out there on pay-per-view with the former world champion.
Oh yeah.
Again, I'm gonna give Snitsky his credit. He hung in there.
He
Not a
did.
spectacular match, but it was decent. It was physical. They got their point across. But it's near the end of the match where Snitsky is dominating Kane at this point, and the commentators are even shocked. They go to the outside. Kane is chasing Snitsky with the chain. He has it wrapped around his fist. And Snitsky, he was a smart man in this match. He kicks the steel steps to trip up Kane. Snitsky goes for a steel chair, and JR makes a point that just...
Yeah. Stop right there. Stop right there. Snitsky goes for a steel chair in a weapon of choice match where there's no disqualifications. So it really should not matter what the fans voted in. Theoretically, they are telling it does not matter what you voted in. The steel chair is still going to be used.
Yeah, and I was thinking when I saw that, I'm like, okay, it's a steel chain match. What's stopping them from using a steel chair? What's stopping them from using a lead pipe? What's stopping them from using a kendo stick? What's stopping them from using the steel steps? What's stopping them from using thumbtacks? What's stopping them from using barbed wire? It's a stupid gimmick match. It's literally a gimmick. And you could tell that WWE wanted the steel chair to get voted in because they would have played into the ending a little better, but it doesn't matter. Snitsky is hitting some pretty like gnarly shots with the chair to the neck of Kane. Yep. And in kind of some poetic justice, Snitsky Pillmanizes Kane's neck the same way Kane did Shawn Michaels. So in one case, Kane got what he deserved. But considering who's delivering the punishment,
God, I want this Kane saga to be over already.
It's almost
we still
over.
Have no, we have a long way to go, brother. We have a long way to go.
At least they're not. Kane gets written off TV. So Snitsky's still going to be around, and yeah, the blow-off isn't until January, but at least we won't have to see too much of this bullshit for much longer.
Yeah.
But this is my favorite part of the match.
Yeah, go ahead.
Favorite part of the match. Snitsky Pillmanizes Kane's throat, and then he just leaves the ring.
He does.
And he leaves the ring, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's referee stoppage. And then I think Snitsky forgot. Snitsky comes back into the ring, he stomps Kane's stomach, and then he pins him. I swear to God, I think he forgot. He forgot to pin Kane.
Probably. Yeah, he's like, oh shit, there's still a match going on. The bell hasn't rung. Might as well just go and beat him. To really put it in the record books that I have decisively defeated this man. You know?
So, but take all the storylines out of the way. A man who just debuted a month ago, pinned a former world champion and a staple of the company in Kane, clean as a whistle in the middle of the ring. Again, why does this not position Snitsky for some kind of push? They gave him shit after this. I don't want to get into that because, it's going to be a good 4 or 5 years until Snitsky gets released. So we're going to be seeing a little more Snitsky.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a good amount of Snitsky as we continue to go through this retro, but yeah, I mean, if he beats a former world champion and a pillar of WWE like Kane, if I could use a proper industry term right now for a minute, like, that should position Snitsky to be a contender for the world title, right? But no.
Absolutely. And then, I mean, it gets him somewhat of a main event position as we talk about the Survivor Series next month. But then there's the commentators, and then they shoot to Lita, and then you get reminded that they want you to feel sympathy for Kane. And then JR, I have to feel for Kane. He just lost his baby. I'm like,
did you just forget the whole summer? Are we supposed to forget the whole summer?
I'm going to give this match 2.5 stars because the work was not bad. And all the credit in the world to Snitsky. Like, they put on a decent match and it furthered the story. But this fucking storyline, man. And then people have the gall to ask me, you really think this is worse than Katie Vick? Yes, it's worse than Katie Vick. Because at least Katie Vick was just a segment. This is a fucking angle that went on for a year. Almost a year.
Yeah.
No, more than a year. If you want to consider what happens after this feud and then the heel turn of a certain person when it should have been the other fucking way around.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying we have a long ways to go with this saga. 2 stars, can't really go higher than that. I mean, Snitsky was still relatively new to the business, so like I wasn't expecting him to have like a full-on great match in hindsight, but I think these guys work together pretty well. I think they would have better matches down the line. There's certainly a believe it or not, their best match I think is on free TV in the build up to Royal Rumble when they have a no holds barred match and they both jump off the stage and they both like are heavily taped up for the Rumble match. So that's something we'll get to.
Props to Snitsky. Like, I know he has long gone. He's left the wrestling business. That is a former life of his. And believe it or not, he's in the grill business now. He's like a modern day. What's his name?
George Foreman.
George Foreman, thank you. Yeah, he has his own line of grills, and it's so funny to see him on the advertisements for these grills because he looks happy.
Yeah.
So good for Snitsky. He found
good
life
for him
after wrestling. So
good for him. Yeah, no, he deserves that. He deserves that for sure. He deserves happiness that doesn't involve a shit storyline where he's portrayed as a baby killer. But anyway, so we're cut to an interview where Edge is talking to Todd Grisham, and he's like, no disrespect for the tag team titles, but I deserve that title match. So it's kind of planting the seeds for what's going to happen later on tonight. Edge sarcastically thanks the fans at the end of the promo as well, which is just a glorious thing to see. And I'm just like, as a kid, I was like, this is a piece of shit right here, isn't it? This is a piece of shit now.
Edge's character development in this show was on another level. And this was really the resurgence of Edge's career.
Yes, this is the ascension of Edge into the main event and the full resurgence that he desperately needed for so long. But, okay, here we go. Eugene is wrestling his dear Uncle Eric in a match where the fans decide the stipulation. And it's not revealed what that stipulation is until the conclusion of the match, until after the bell rang. So this is a storyline that's been playing out since after WrestleMania, I want to say, when Eric Bischoff forcibly is signing his nephew Eugene to a contract against his own will because he's a sick bastard and he doesn't want to give his autistic nephew a contract because he finds him a burden. Fuck this guy.
Here are your 3 options. The loser gets to be the winner's servant for a month. The loser has to wear a dress for a month. That didn't age well. Or the loser gets their head shaved by the winner. Mm-hmm. The only thing I'm going to mention about this match, because the match really isn't nothing, it's the whole conclusion of the match.
It's 2 minutes.
If Eric Bischoff really is a black belt in karate, he should have broken Eugene's arm and won this match in 20 seconds. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying. Yeah. You want me to suspend disbelief? If you have a black belt in karate, trust me, I did karate back in middle school for like a month. If you even try to throw a punch, they see it coming and they could break your arm in like less than 3 seconds. So either Bischoff's, or it could play into Bischoff's character that he's just bullshitting, but this has kind of been his staple since WCW, that he was a master of the martial arts. So if he was really worried about the outcome of this match, he could have just broken Eugene's arm in 5 seconds.
He could have, but no. Eugene hit Bischoff. Eugene airplane spin. He does some Hogan posing because that does not work for Eric Bischoff, brother. He goes and hits him with a leg drop and pins him in 2 minutes. Match gets a dud. It wasn't really much of anything. So
it wasn't about the match. It was what happened after the match, which
let's talk about it.
Revealed the stipulation, and Eugene gets to shave Eric Bischoff's head. So Bischoff
shave him bald.
Do it. Yeah. So this is when Coachman comes down to the ring and says, no. The crowd response needs to match the online response, and I think you want to see Bischoff be Eugene's assistant, his servant for a month. And
massive
Bischoff says,
booze.
no, I ain't doing that. Yeah, so Bischoff whispers into Coachman's ear, but he's not subtle about it at all. He goes, I'll be Eugene's assistant for 5 minutes. Should have been 3 minutes. Then Bischoff could have got away with this scot-free. So Coachman.
Oh, it's a missed opportunity. Missed opportunity there.
Coach goes on to say, oh yeah, you can be Eugene's assistant for 5 minutes. You can get him a soda. You can take his bags to the car, and the whole thing will be done. And then hits Vince McMahon's music. And this is a very, very, very rare case of Vince McMahon being a babyface. We talked about it in the SmackDown pay-per-views, how Vince kind of just revealed Kurt Angle to be the fraud that he was as general manager. And here Vince is very rarely, might I say, here to right a wrong.
Very rarely here to listen to what the people want as well. So the stipulation is that Eric Bischoff has to get his head shaved bald, and damn it, Vince McMahon is going to see Eric Bischoff shaved bald in front of, like, you know, in front of him, in front of God, in front of all these fans in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on that cold October night. So Vince gets into the ring. Eugene is very excited to see him. Vince tells Eric Bischoff that he leaves. If he leaves, he is fired as general manager, and gets into the barber's chair. Eugene is just channeling his inner Brutus the Barber Beefcake at this point. He's so excited, and Bischoff is so terrified when Eugene is taking the scissors to his hair. But that is not the memorable part of the segment, is it, Tomas? Do you want to describe
Vince's
what Coach
quips? Vince's quips and his ad-libs during this segment were the funniest things in the world. Bischoff's trying to run away and said, "I'll fire you. I can replace you like that. Yeah, you keep walking. You walk out of here, I'll have a new general manager by the next night. So you sit your ass down in that barber's chair." And when Eugene starts shaving Bischoff's head, Vince is going, "Oh, I sit still if I were you. I would sit still if I were you. Take it like a man, Bischoff. Take it like a man." And then Coach is trying to sneak away. And Vince says, "Coach, where the hell do you think you're going? Get your ass back over here. Oh, you want to go to the control center? No, we'll worry about that later. This is a nice looking dress. You know what? I think it looks your size. Put on that dress. No, take off your shirt." And that is a reference I never thought I would hear again. Take off your shirt, damn it. Now take off your pants. I hope to God you're wearing underwear. So
those quips did not age well, did they? Especially considering who we're talking about.
Coach is forced to strip down to his underwear. Thank God he was wearing long briefs. And he has to put on the dress. And as he's putting on the dress, Vince says, "Button it up, damn it.
Don't be a slut. Don't be a slut. Button up the dress."
You're letting everything hang out. Button up that dress.
What's the matter with you?
Look at this scenario. You have Eugene shaving Eric Bischoff's head. You have Vince McMahon barking orders at Coachman, who was in a dress. I told you, this was not about the match. This was about the hilarity that ensued. And then Bischoff is screaming at Coach, saying that this is your fault. You're the reason why I'm in this. And Coach is going, "Look at me. I'm in a dress."
Yeah, and as Eugene is shaving Bischoff's hair, it's revealed that Eric has been dyeing his hair the entire time he's been with WWE. Because if you look at the final days of WCW, the infamous segment where David Arquette pins Eric Bischoff to win the WCW title, it's clear that Eric Bischoff is graying. So then when he shifts gears, goes to the WWE, he's dyeing his hair black now. He's looking like the old school Eric Bischoff. And now when he's getting his head shaved bald, now it's revealed that he's got the gray under there. And Vince is like, "Ha ha ha, what's the matter with you? You dye your hair?"
Again, this is a rare case of Vince McMahon giving the heels what they deserve. And again, babyface Vince is very weird. And most of the time it's very forced. But when it works, holy shit. This and the Kurt Angle segment were probably the only two times babyface Vince actually felt organic. Because he would go on to kind of flip-flop between being a heel and a face. But when he was a face, it was very forgettable. It would be for a segment or so. But we all know Vince is the greatest heel of all time in wrestling and in real life. So this was quite entertaining, I will say.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Maybe went a little bit too long if I'm really thinking about it. But, I mean, for what it was, definitely was a solid piece of entertainment, I think.
Considering the card and some of the stuff on the show, it felt like at points they were stretching for time. They were really trying to fill that 2 hour and 45-minute quota they had for these pay-per-views. And yeah, it did drag on, but it was quite entertaining to me. This would be Bischoff's looks going forward. I don't know if he was balding, maybe he wanted to shave his hair off, but he would
No.
never dye it again. And you know what? Bischoff's long black hair will be missed. That's an iconic look. I kind of rocking that look right now. So again, rest in peace to Bischoff's hair. He would go on to just rock the short gray look from, I feel like that's when wrestlers do get their head shaved, it has a lot to do with that. You look at Big Show, he was balding. Kurt Angle just looked better bald, in my opinion.
Big
and then
Show.
As, yeah. And as my favorite wrestler in the world, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, when Shawn Michaels finally cut his luscious locks off, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking to see your heroes turn old. When Triple H did it, I remember my brother was in shambles when Triple H cut his hair, but our heroes get old, guys. They start losing their hair, and there's no point in keeping it.
Or in other cases, like John Cena, they start growing their hair. It's like completely flipped in reverse. But yeah. So next up, Tomas, is a big one. It's a big one.
Yeah, this is it's weird how this is not the main event.
No, it's not the main event. I'm thinking of the tag title match.
Damn it, I was trying to save myself and I did. Anywho, you caught me slipping once again.
It's okay.
It could be your semi-main event because it's a result of the world title. It is a result of the world title poll. And it's the World Tag Team title match we talked about earlier. La Resistance is defending their tag team titles against Chris Benoit and Edge. Robert Conway and Sylvain Grenier are interviewed for the match. They're told that this isn't fair, that they didn't know who their opponents was. It's the usual heel tactic that these heels would use at these fan participation pay-per-views. And they say that they are wrestling this match in protest. Again, like we mentioned before, this is not the first time Benoit and Edge have faced off against La Resistance. Edge is very hesitant in this match. And again, just like on Raw, they're chanting USA. Everyone in the ring is either French or Canadian.
Okay, so first of all, before I get to that point, so it should be noted that Edge did confront Shawn Michaels in the backstage area, who was getting his knee taped up, saying, "It should be me! It should be me, Kofi!" Okay, no, he didn't say that.
He said, "You're a selfish son of a bitch that doesn't deserve it." And I love how Edge is just screaming this shit at Shawn Michaels, and Michaels is just sitting there like, okay.
Yeah, Shawn's just taking it. I mean, he's probably heard worse. He's probably heard way worse.
The look on Michael's face after was just like, I'm sorry you feel that way.
La Resistance goes out there. They sing the Canadian national anthem. They are interrupted by 2 Canadians. The crowd starts chanting USA. There are 0 Americans in the ring, Milwaukee. 0 Americans. I'm sorry to reiterate the point, but it should be noted there are 0 Americans. It's all Canadian.
I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the show, but when Benoit and Jericho turned face, WWE did something that was very weird. Benoit is from Alberta, Canada, and Jericho is from Winnipeg, not from Toronto, just in case you guys were confused. But when they turned face, WWE started saying Jericho was born in Manhattan, New York. And they started saying that Benoit now resides in Atlanta, Georgia. Both of those facts are true. But this is Vince just saying you can't be a good guy from Canada, which was very weird. They changed the billing of Benoit and Jericho when they're baby faces because you can't have good guys in Canada. And something tells me this is just Vince holding resentment over Bret Hart.
Yeah.
That's a theory I have from going out through this entire retrospective. It's just like, it's not subtle either. Like, the Canadians are the bad guys. You can't be good and be from Canada and like all this stuff. So it's just, I feel like it's Vince holding that resentment over Bret, even though it's been 7 years.
Yeah, no, it's just Vince being petty, and it would be, I don't want to get into that. Peep our Survivor Series 1997 review for full thoughts on that. But this match, you've seen this match before, but the underlying story is what's the hesitancy with Edge? Why is he not getting in the ring?
Frustration.
He is, yeah. Edge is clearly just dejected, and he feels very much like he's so angry with this crowd. Like, I don't know the proper word for his disdain.
Yeah, even in his entrance, he's doing his usual thing. He's bouncing around. He's going from side to side. But like in the middle of it, he's just like, no, he doesn't want to be here. He doesn't want to be in this match. He doesn't want to win the tag team titles. He is just so consumed that it should have been him in the world championship match. And
Yep.
he doesn't really. I don't even think he gets tagged in this match. And when he's finally starting to get into his groove that he wants to participate, he does get the tag from Benoit, but the referee doesn't see it. And that was the
Yes.
final straw for Edge. Once Edge was basically forced to get out of the ring, he goes on a walk. He jumps off from the apron. He leaves Benoit high and dry. He not only leaves the stage, he goes backstage. He goes to the parking lot. He grabs his shit and he gets the fuck out of there.
Yeah, and
Someone's a little upset.
What's amazing to me is that the cameraman actually followed Edge through this whole process. He follows him up the ramp, follows him through the curtain, not through Gorilla, because you don't want to break that. You don't want to break that illusion. Follows him down the hallway, through the locker room, through the parking lot. Maybe he grabs a snack on the way, gets into his car, and then he leaves. And that's where the camera cuts.
And how convenient was it that Edge has one bag and it was just ready for him to go?
Right.
And he was screaming at a stagehand and said, "Where's my bag? Is it this one? Yeah, it's that one." You could have grabbed your Stratus' bag for all you know.
Yeah. There could have been a mix-up. You could have had the nurse and French maid attire in there. It would have been very interesting.
So Edge has left the building. Benoit is looking at the Titantron, and he knows Edge ain't coming back. So Benoit is forced to fight La Resistance by himself. And in a very courageous effort, too, he makes them tap out, and Chris Benoit wins the World Tag Team titles by himself. I don't know if that's a first, but that does not happen a lot. So, first of all, that makes Benoit look like a badass. That he won these tag team titles by himself. For the match, I'll give it 2.25. It wasn't about the in-ring action. It was about the ongoing story that was Edge's frustration.
Yes. I mean, I would say, the match was more so about the story, definitely. It's very unique in that it stands out from their Bad Blood match because you have the whole debacle with Edge leaving the arena. That's what this match is most memorable for. Not necessarily Benoit winning the tag titles by himself, but that could be forgotten about for a bevy of other reasons that, I dare not mention right now. But
this is why this match went down the way it went. If Benoit got voted into the world title match, you could have saw Edge just straight up turn on Shawn Michaels and La Resistance could have retained. And if Edge gotten voted into the world title match, hell, we could have had Benoit and Michaels be the randomest tag team champions.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. But it's definitely very unique. It's definitely a very well-worked match. These guys all know how to put on a good tag team match, so nothing really to complain about necessarily, but it's just not like the most it's not the most well-versed tag team match really necessarily.
Yeah, you don't remember this match for the in-ring work. You remember this match for Edge walking out on Benoit and Benoit winning the tag team titles by himself.
That's exactly the thought I had, but Jesus Christ. Okay, so our next match is Diva Search winner Christy Hemme, who would later become famous for her Impact Wrestling stint, going up against Carmella. No, not the Carmella you're thinking of. This is a different Carmella who was universally hated in the locker room.
Yeah.
So how did we get here?
Tomas, yeah, we're not talking about the moonwalking, smack talking, princess of Staten Island. No. You wish it was that Carmella.
You wish it was that Carmella. Right. Yeah, absolutely a charisma vacuum. Yeah, would you like to explain the concept of the Diva Search to the viewers?
From what I fucking remember, the $500,000 Diva Search. So basically, John Laurinaitis went through a catalog of women that he thought were attractive and selected a bunch. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Should I not be telling that story? A group of selected women were going to be on a reality show called The Diva Search, and the winner would not only win a WWE contract, they would win $250,000, which I've noticed that in marketing, they're not going to say $250,000. That doesn't sound cool. $250,000. That sounds better, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Anywho,
no, you hear that on Deal or No Deal. Like, they don't say like $500,000. They say $500,000. Yeah. It's easier for Howie Mandel to say it that way.
So basically, it was just a bunch of women that have never stepped foot in a professional wrestling ring before, competing for a contract. It was like a shitty version of Tough Enough, and I
Yeah.
don't remember too much of it.
And
Tough Enough in the Diva Search has just been a shitty concept from day one. Sure, we got
these
John Morrison. Sure, we got Maven. Sure, we got The Miz, but yikes.
we got Ryback. We got, a few other people, but this Diva Search was such a failed experiment, mainly because these women not only didn't have any experience, but they were allowed out there without a script. And when they were cutting promos on each other, good God, the stuff they would say on live television. Like, this is so forgettable. Not even Dwayne Johnson could get the Diva Search over. He came back for a short-lived stint on Raw. Like, you know how he made these one-time appearances on Raw in 2004? One of them was, I believe, in Anaheim, or home of Disneyland, right? He comes out, does the Diva Search segment, hosts a pie-eating contest, put two and two together, and the crowd could not give two shits about it. I mean, the Diva Search would introduce us to all-time greats like Michelle McCool, Eve Torres, Maria Kanellis, Candice Michelle over the years, but never really panned out.
Now, who is Carmella, and why don't we know her as well as the other Carmella we know nowadays? Because she was like a prototype Bella twin. And that might be even an insult to the Bella twins. Oh, I'm sorry, the Garcia twins. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, well, the Bellas.
I just remember
difference though, Tomas. You're forgetting one thing. Say what you want about the Bellas or the Garcias, whatever you want to call them now. At least they kind of have charisma. Carmella had none of that. Absolute charisma vacuum.
The only other thing I remember about her when I was 10 years old is that she was a bitch.
And everybody would target her in the promos. Everybody would vote her off Big Brother style, but she wound up being the runner-up, which is interesting.
Now,
so they go out there.
Christy Hemme, I'll give her credit. She actually gave a shit. She actually did have some charisma, but the in-ring talent, not there. And you know what? She realized that, and that's why she transitioned into becoming a ring announcer, and a pretty damn good ring announcer, may I add. I don't know why, but the only thing that comes up to mind is when she accidentally botched Austin Aries' ring entrance, and then Aries stuck his crotch in her face.
Yeah, don't want to talk about him either, but these two have a 2-minute match. It's terrible, Not really much else to say about it other than the stipulation, which, again, these audience members are freaking creepy as fuck. Because, like...
Was it a pillow fight?
It was a pillow fight, yep. It sure was.
Oh.
But,
I fell asleep during this.
Yeah, no, Tomas had a nice pillow of his own that he got to sleep with. So, you can skip this. But, let's move on. Move on.
I'm surprised this wasn't the main event. For the World Heavyweight Championship, this is a little awkward. Didn't we just have a 45-minute Hell in a Cell match that was supposed to be the last time these two ever fought?
We sure did.
It's
didn't live up to their promise, though, did they?
WWE kind of booked themselves into a corner with this one. It's Triple H defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Shawn Michaels. And one thing I will give credit for this match, they took a different formula with this match, because we've seen Shawn Michaels and Triple H put on 5-star clinics. They know that there's not really much else they could prove in the ring, so they told a story instead. I swear, again, you could put a piece of cardboard in the ring with Shawn Michaels, and he will tell a 5-star story, mind you. This was not a 5-star match, but these two have just such great chemistry that I cannot deny, even though they weren't given a lot. Again, they were given a 2-hour notice about this. Triple H and Shawn Michaels probably sat in a room and said, okay, what are we doing? And they put together something, story-wise, was pretty damn good. This whole match revolved around Shawn Michaels' bum knee. He went into the match kind of limping. Triple H immediately starts working on the knee, and even after just a couple of minutes of working over, Shawn Michaels is screaming at the ref, don't call for the bell, don't call for the bell. So just the amount of emotion Shawn Michaels was putting in this match put the match over on its own. So it was an excellent story told.
Shawn Michaels is amongst the best sellers in the business, period. Just whatever way you slice it, any match with Shawn Michaels, you're going to get a freaking good story, and he's going to make you freaking believe. Even though I'm pretty sure nobody kind of figured that Triple H was going to lose the title here, no matter who he was facing. Even if it was, in fact, Edge, like the company allegedly wanted. Michaels told such a good story, and the crowd really wanted him to win. I think he did hit Sweet Chin Music towards the end of this match, and there was a good. He did.
Before we get to the finish, there is one hilarious spot I want to point out, and it's the bickering between Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross throughout this match. Because, Jerry Lawler is the heel sympathizer and JR is the babyface commentator. And they're kind of going back and forth. And then while Triple H is working on the knee, JR just yells out, "Good God, Lawler, can you think of anything else other than divas and panties and puppies? And pay attention to the damn match. The man can't stand." And Lawler gets so quiet. And Lawler says, "Well, I mean, I know how you get about Triple H. I'm just saying, if Triple H came out here and walked on water, you would say, oh, look at that. Triple H can't swim." That is probably the greatest exchange I've ever heard between JR and the King. Only second exchange. The squabble. The squabble they got into at WrestleMania 19.
Yeah. Flair has no business in there, damn it.
It's great. It's great. Paul Heyman recently said in an interview that, unfortunately, as much as he loves JR, he respects him, but if you want to get that kind of passion at a JR, you have to press his buttons. And that was a moment of sheer unbridled passion from JR.
Totally. Yeah. The King is sitting there also in the meantime, like basically he's not buying the legitimacy of the Shawn Michaels injury, even though during Shawn's entrance, he doesn't get down on both knees and do the prayer to God like he usually does with the pyro behind him. He gets down on one knee, can't bend the other knee because it's been sprained and just mutilated beyond repair. And Shawn is just like, he's just limping and gimping his way to the ring with his bedazzled outfit that he always likes wearing. But the King is still sitting there denying that Shawn is actually hurt. And JR is like pissed off at this. So I'm glad you brought that up. Hunter locks in the figure 4 leg lock, of course, because, Ric Flair is his manager. Mike Chioda, the referee, is, the fans are rallying behind Shawn Michaels, and Shawn is constantly telling this referee he doesn't quit. And again, that's really what makes you believe in Shawn Michaels, is his selling ability and the fact that he is just crawling and scratching his way to those ropes. The crowd really wanted him to get there, but Hunter doesn't. I don't think he even hits a pedigree in this match. I don't think there was that near fall.
That's what was so unique about this match. It wasn't about the near falls. It was about the story revolving around Shawn Michaels' knee. It's then that Triple H is distracted by the referee. He's getting in Chioda's face, and Shawn Michaels hits a Hail Mary super kick out of nowhere to seemingly put down Triple H. He goes for the pin, but Batista pulls the referee out of the ring. While they're dealing with Batista, a returning Edge. He did not leave the building. He jumps through the crowd and he spears Shawn Michaels. Triple H is able to pick up the victory and retain the World Heavyweight Championship. Again, the theme of this show was it really wasn't about the in-ring work. It was about the stories. And this is where the Edge story kind of came into full circle, completed his heel turn, and he used it to screw Shawn Michaels out of the match. But other than that, the story they told within the match is still enough to earn this 3.5 stars.
Yeah, I'm going to go 3.5 stars as well. And I'm glad that you did not overlook the importance of this heel turn here. Because when Edge hit that spear on Shawn Michaels, immediately as a little boy, I was like, you mother, as someone who really loved Rob Zombie, Edge, and looking back in hindsight, this heel turn, completely justified because Edge feels rightly wronged by the fans. Shawn Michaels, a guy who is past his prime in his mind, took a spot away from him when he felt he was ready, and now he's costing Shawn Michaels that spotlight. As he's leaving through the crowd, you can visibly hear him scream at Shawn. I can't do it with the headphones, but it should have been me. It should have been me. And he's
you're gonna hate me for saying this, but this is where Edge found his grit.
Yes, yeah, no pun intended, no pun intended. Yeah, disregard the Edge impression, but you're gonna see a lot of Edge like just like pulling his hair out of his roots, literally.
Oh, and you talk about the Rob Zombie theme. Don't worry, that theme song is coming. It's coming, and it
Yeah,
would become a staple of Edge's career for the rest of his time.
yes, that theme song. It actually debuts at Survivor Series, so we'll get to talk about it then. So here we go, my friend. As much as that world title match, you know, as much as it may make people happy and everything like that, but here we go. It's Randy Orton versus the Nature Boy Ric Flair. Teacher versus student, mentor versus protege, legend versus legend killer. And basically the build for this, Randy Orton has just lost the world title looking like the biggest fucking geek of all time. And Ric Flair is sitting there like, you're not a true legend killer until you beat the Nature Boy. And then Randy Orton
it's kind of like Flair is distracting Randy Orton for going back for the World Heavyweight Championship he was screwed out of.
Yes, and Randy Orton, in his youth, smartly counters by basically trying to draw the seeds of dissension within Evolution. He's basically saying, Rick, you're better than this. You can't be carrying bags for Triple H. And you actually think that Ric Flair is going to listen to Randy Orton, and you actually think he's going to split off from Evolution. Thankfully, he doesn't. We get a much better storyline going into WrestleMania, but Ric Flair, you think he's going to do it, then he low blows Randy Orton. It was a ruse all along, which sets up this match right here.
Was this where Ric Flair challenged Triple H for the World Heavyweight Championship, or did that already happen?
I think that already happened in the spring of 2003 in Ric Flair's hometown. Actually, they had a random ass match between him and Hunter, like at the peak of Evolution. But excuse me, but the options for this stipulation, because can't pick the participants, but the crowd is allowed to pick between a Falls Count Anywhere match, a submission match, or a steel cage. I, as a kid, wanted to see Falls Count Anywhere just because I loved playing those game types in the SmackDown games. And I was like, I want to see Falls Count Anywhere main event a pay-per-view. But
Ric Flair is synonymous with the steel cage match. That is his bread and butter. Lawler made a point that I don't know is true or not. And honestly, to this day, it kind of eats at me. He said Ric Flair has had more cage matches than Randy Orton has had matches. Now, remember, this is a 2004 Randy Orton. So, I don't know. Was that true? That may be a little bit of hyperbole, but it got Lawler's point across. But I don't know. Is that true?
It might have been a slight exaggeration on their part, but needless to say, you cut to Jonathan Coachman at the control center, who's still wearing the dress, by the way. He goes and he takes the poll from the audience, and then he reveals the results. The steel cage match wins with a 69% of the vote. Nice. So you go in there and, yeah, Ric Flair, 55 years old at this time. Randy Orton is only a ripe young 24. You can win by pinfall, submission, or escaping the cage as per with cage matches. I didn't time this, but it felt like seconds into the match when Randy Orton started to bleed. Like, as soon as Flair threw Orton into the cage wall, the blood just starts pouring.
Like, you know, Ric Flair, before Jon Moxley, Ric Flair was the king of the blade. But this match definitely warranted it. This match, first of all, neither men at one point in this match attempted to escape the cage, which I really appreciated. Mm-hmm. But this really felt like a modern day version of those classic steel cage matches Ric Flair would have back in the day in WCW against Dusty Rhodes, against Harley Race. That would just be so personal, so violent, so bloody. And it's like this match was basically, it was teacher versus student. And Flair was not only put over Orton over big time, but at this point, 2004, showing that he still fucking got it.
He still does.
Admit, this match made me smile, but it made me sad at the same time just to see a pathetic shell of a human being Ric Flair has become now. But just seeing that he was the fucking man. Even in the 2000s, he was the fucking man.
He really was.
I love this match, but my biggest issue with it, and I'm sure it's your biggest issue too, It was way too short.
I was shocked how short this match was because I was rewatching this, Tomas, and I had paused it right before the main event, and I was shocked to see that there was only like 20 minutes left, and I was like, man, did they really not get like 20 minutes? I did not remember that this match only got like 10 minutes.
Yeah, and it's a shame. It was a good showcase. It was a fantastic story told. It was bloody. It was violent. If you would have given this match 10 more minutes, I
Yeah.
would definitely regard this one of the greatest cage matches of all time in
Mm-hmm.
the modern era.
Could have been a 2004 match of the year contender if it got 10 more minutes, but alas, it honestly felt like a Raw main event more than a pay-per-view main event,
Yeah.
which, again, kind of a shame, but these guys bled pretty instantly. Flair and Orton are grinding each other's faces into the walls. Randy Orton is hitting that sloppy crossbody that he would hit early on in his career. There's a point where Ric Flair, oh, that sneaky Ric Flair, pulls out the brass knuckles, absolutely cleans Randy Orton's clock, and I'm like, oh, that's it. Randy Orton kicks out, and it's a great near fall, but I'm like, you hit Randy Orton with brass knuckles. That should put him away. So Ric Flair then tries to escape the cage. Flair does that trope of trying to go through the door, and he grabs the steel chair on the way in, and he goes to swing at Randy. Randy hits an RKO out of nowhere and pins Ric Flair. 11 minutes. Should have been a way longer match for a main event of a pay-per-view, but
you would have given this match 10 more minutes, I would have given this 4.5 stars. But unfortunately, the highest I can go is 3 3/4. Match of the night, excellent match. I just wish it would have went longer.
Yeah. I think 3.5 is being generous, man. I mean, that's just me, but I really wanted this match to get the time it deserved because it really felt like such a personal, well-built rivalry that felt like a nice distraction for Randy Orton to get away from the world title for a month, even though he just lost it, so he's warranted a rematch, but doesn't get it, apparently. And after the match, this is where it kind of gets interesting, because basically Randy Orton extends his hand, Ric Flair actually shakes his hand, and it's a show of sportsmanship at the end, and they actually embrace each other. Big bloody mess, embrace each other. And I'm like,
so yeah, it was a very cool visual. I'm gonna give Taboo Tuesday a 6 out of 10. The good stuff was good, but the bad shit was bad. And oh my god, this was definitely an experimental pay-per-view for sure, where it was less about the in-ring work and more about the storytelling, which isn't always a bad thing. We had an excellent main event that should have got more time. We had a pretty damn good world title match considering the stipulations, and we got a very solid opener that honestly probably never should have happened. But we got a cringy as fuck women's battle royal. We got a very forgettable diva search match, and we had the worst storyline of all time with Snitsky and Kane.
God, I mean, like of all time, like I think the whole storyline of Kane being the aggressor going into the Snitsky saga, going into even his stuff with Edge in 05, that's like the worst thing ever, like all put together. It's not just one thing about that storyline. Let me just be clear about that. But I'm going to give Taboo Tuesday a 5.5 just because I think this show is remembered for the Ascension of Edge into the main event. And that's pretty much, I mean, you have a good match between Hunter and Shawn. You can get better matches between them with a lot better build and a lot, it's like so much, like, how do I put this? It's so well put together, those matches. And a lot of them on this show, because you didn't know what was voted in, it was tough for the wrestlers to really like put stuff together.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. But considering what they were given, again, an excellent Intercontinental title match, and Triple H and Shawn Michaels, there's not a better duo. Maybe Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, but they're definitely in top 3 for 2 wrestlers that just have the greatest chemistry ever. And again, you want to watch a fantastic, go to SummerSlam 02, watch Michaels and Hunter from there. That's my favorite match of all time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Taboo Tuesday, this would be the groundwork for it. As the years go on, it never gets amazing. It's all right. Again, we have 5 more of these to go through, and I don't think any of them are just like, wow, that was amazing. I mean, the last Cyber Sunday has Undertaker and Big Show in a last man standing match. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. He's just trying to say last man standing match is good just to rile me.
Gotcha.
But yeah, hit that subscribe button if you're new and smash that thumbs up as well. We've only got one more iteration of the ZNT Wrestling Show before we go to WrestleMania in Los Angeles.
9 more days till we
Yes,
leave.
sir. Dude.
We're going to be at WrestleCon Friday morning. We're going to be at Supercard of Honor Friday night. We're going to be at WrestleMania Saturday and Sunday. Zack's going to be at NXT Stand and Deliver. Zack's going to be at the Raw after Mania.
Yes, sir.
Holy shit.
We're going to be at Disneyland after that. We're going to be at Disneyland after that, Tomas. It's going to be
fucking ready.
I'm fucking hyped, dude. It's like hotel's been confirmed. We have all this stuff. We're set. We're meeting Kurt Angle at WrestleCon. It's going to be a freaking blast. I have 8x10s ready to go for WrestleCon. It's like, we've been hyping this up, man. We've been hyping it up since the start of the pandemic. Like, even before the pandemic, when they announced they were going to Los Angeles. And then the pandemic hits. It's postponed 2 years. And now here we are.
We are nine days away from hitting the road and going to LA and just soaking it all in.
Living it up.
It's going to be amazing. If you're going to be at WrestleMania, please hit us up. Let us know if you're going to be at WrestleCon. Let us know if you're going to be at Supercard. Like, we want to make this the greatest week of our lives, and it's already going to be, so help make it better for us.
Yes, absolutely. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that thumbs up as well. One more iteration of the ZNT Wrestling Show before we leave in 9 days, and Tomas and I decided to do something a little bit different for the next iteration. We're kind of breaking our rule when it comes to the retrospective, and I hate to break it to you, but you know what? It's our show, and we do what we want. And when it comes to, like, you know, picking shows and all that, obviously, we have the retro polls, and we put the choices out there. You guys make that choice. But here, I feel like it was only fitting to look back at the last WrestleMania that Tomas and I were in attendance for. Next up, we're going to be looking at WrestleMania 31. I'm very, very excited to look back on that show with you and reminisce about the good times.
Yeah. Emanating from Levi Stadium in Santa Clara, not San Francisco.
I will save that rant for that iteration, my friends. But everybody take care. Commence that back talk. Let us know what you thought of Taboo Tuesday. Look out for the Survivor Series review in this retrospective. We've only got 2 more to go in 04, too. It's crazy how quick we've gone through this. But, yeah, commence that back talk, and see you guys soon.